Welcome to the Soldier for Christ podcast. Soldier for Christ started as a weekly video series with the intent to provide encouragement. Morphing into a podcast, we will dive deeper into each of these videos to really discover what God is saying to us and how we can find the strength to press on and fight the good fight as a soldier for Christ. So I'm going to give this another shot. Today's podcast, well, first of all, welcome back to the podcast. I am sorry for not getting new episode out sooner, but I've had a hard time sitting down and doing these things. And it's interesting because you think with the current climate of things and everybody being forced to kind of stay at home that I would have plenty of time to sit down and just record these and talk to you guys and everything, but I have found myself not in that zone recently. And it's interesting because today we're talking about the fifth video, or was it the sixth? I guess it was the sixth video in the series called Seek. The link is in the show notes below. And it's about seeking the kingdom of God. And in the video, it was the first one that was a standalone episode. And so you can kind of tell I was trying to change up the setting a little bit, which didn't work because rule number one of any video production, I think, is never backlight your subject. And that's what I did. Open the curtains, thinking that, there's a big tree out there. So my thought process was that, hey, it'll look really cool because you'll see nature and everything behind me. But yeah, it just did not work out very well. And then between the backlighting, the red curtains, the white shirt, it's just very, very poor quality. But I was trying, I was still figuring out how to do a web show at that point. Like I said before, the first 5 I filmed back to back to back, and this one was obviously a different day, different time. So I was trying a different setup, and it just it didn't work out very well for the look of the video. But it had a purpose, and it had a reason for being. And I go into it talking about how easy it is to seek God because He's everywhere, which He is everywhere. And I think that my words there still hold some truth because if we truly look, we can see God in everything and everyone. But then there are times where it just becomes hard to do that, to see Him everywhere, because we get down sometimes. And with this COVID stuff going on, everyone kind of being forced to stay at home, it's been real easy to get into a funk, and routines are thrown off and everything else. And I'm sorry, I'm having issues with my contacts. I can't hardly see to read my notes here. But anyway, so yeah, and seek first the kingdom and His righteousness. And that's, I think, sometimes easier said than done. When we're in those great moments of happiness and levity, it's easy to see God everywhere. But when we look around the world and see what's happening, sometimes it becomes a little more difficult to see God in the details. But trust me, He is there. It's when we face this resistance that we need Him even more. And little segue there into resistance. Reason I'm trying to do this today is there is a book called The War of Art by Steven Pressfield, and I overheard someone mention it in a different conversation, and so I got this book, and it is inspiring. So I want to read a little section from it here about our purpose, about God's design and call for us. And I've had conversations in the past about, well, how do we know what our purpose is? How do we know what He's calling us to be, what He's calling us to do? And so here is something that he's talking about. He says, we can navigate by resistance. Resistance being the thing that's stopping you from doing whatever it is. We can navigate by resistance, letting it guide us to that calling or action or our purpose or whatever it is that God has in store for us that we must follow. The rule of thumb is the more important a call or an action is to our soul's evolution, the more resistance we will feel toward pursuing it. That little statement was pretty profound to me, because Soldier for Christ is one of those things that I had felt was my call, my purpose, my mission. It's the ministry that I've developed in order to attempt to spread the word of Jesus. And the more important a calling is, the more resistance we will feel toward it. And that's what I've had lately, is I've had resistance toward doing these podcasts, toward seeking him in this difficult time. And so the more resistance that I feel to it, the more important that I know this is, the more important it is that I get it out there. And so that's why I am doing my best today to fight the resistance and to sit here and to talk to you and to record this episode. So I hope that you can take that little nugget that I pulled from that book. Again, it's Stephen Pressfield, The War of Art. Go check that book out. It's very insightful, and if you're a creative type, it can help you get past some of those blocks. And I've been facing a lot of those lately. We were working on a different film production. We had to cancel that because of COVID. We pushed it back like 3 times. We ended up just canceling the whole thing for now. So we'll see what happens later. But back to seeking God. That was the intent for this video. And the verse of that day was, of course, Matthew 6:33, seek first his kingdom, but also Jeremiah 1:5. And that says that before I formed you, before he formed us in the womb, he knew us. He knew you. He knew me. Before we were ever born, he set us apart, and we were appointed as a prophet to the nations. So that just means that whatever your calling is he had that predestined for you, and he knew who you were going to be, and what you were going to be able to do for him before you were ever born. So that, I think, when you can wrap your head around that, it makes it easy to break through that resistance. I say easy. It's easier said than done. It helps us to press on into that fight against resistance, against the devil's schemes to hinder us from spreading the word. And in that vein, I had also recently actually published another blog post on the website, which if you haven't seen it, go check that out, soldierforchrist.net, which I haven't written a blog post in a while. So I actually, dumped one out one night. And I called it Resolve. What are you resolved to be? Well, I have been resolved to be a soldier for Christ, but I haven't been doing that lately. And so I'm trying to get back into that. I won't read that to you now. You can go read that when you have time. But I think these things, when we look at the resistance that we're facing, when we look at the climate of society right now and the nation right now, if we look, we can see the beauty in those little details. We can see God there. We can see the things that he is doing. And then we can contribute to that. And we can help others see that beauty as well. It's not all pretty. I'm not going to pretend that it is. I know people that have had this illness, and it's nasty. And there are countless that have passed away from it, and it's tragic. We have to deal with those tragedies in the best way that we can, and lean into God, and continue to seek him and his kingdom, and to spread the word. So yeah, before we were born, he knew us, what we were going to do, what we were going to be, and how we could help contribute to him. So continue to seek God. I almost forgot. This was another one, right? So again, I'm going to wrap up with this. So in my daily readings, I came across 1 Corinthians 2, verses 1 through 5. And it kind of really brought me back to the very first videos of Soldier for Christ, because it says, this is 1 Corinthians, he says, and so it was with me. When I came to you, I did not come with eloquence or human wisdom, as I proclaimed to you the testimony of God. For I resolved to know nothing while I was with you except Jesus Christ and him crucified. I come to you in weakness with great fear and trembling. My message and my preaching were not with wise and persuasive words, but with a demonstration of the Spirit's power, so that your faith might not rest on human wisdom, but on God's power. So that was totally me, right? It's still totally me. I'm not here with great wisdom, quote unquote. I'm not here with a pedigree or a master's degree or a PhD or anything like that. I'm just a guy who loves God and is trying to do what Jesus called us to do. And I think that's what was happening here. He's telling us, look, he wasn't some learned scholar. He's just a guy talking to more people about Jesus, about the gospel, about the truth. And that's what I am doing here. I don't have this elaborate, vocabulary of $10 words. I'm just here with my nickels and dimes, doing what I can. So, seek the kingdom of God, press on, and fight the good fight. And I will talk to you next time. I'm going to do my best to push the resistance and get more of these out for you, because we need this light in the world, and I would encourage you to go be that light for others as well. Thanks again for listening. I'll talk to you next time. Thank you for pressing play and joining us today. Please join us again next time, and until then, press on, fight the good fight as a soldier for Christ. For more information, please visit www.soldierforchrist.net. Opening and closing music by Scott Holmes, scottholmesmusic.com. Soldier for Christ theme music created by Derek Rhodes. This has been a Canaanite Media LLC production.